will start with the prayers. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Tadacharya Madhyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmatgurubhyo Namaha. Sharada Sharadam Bhoja Varanam Bhuje Sarvada Sarvadasmakam Sannidhim Riyat Shri Sharada Parameshwarjai Namaha. Suti Smriti Purana Namavin Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loga Shankaram. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. Good. I think we will continue. Whatever what it is. It has been a bad day for in the whole day this has been having this problem has been there.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere, Swamiji. Raining and that is, it's costing the internet.
Anyhow, let us start. We have already lost some 15 minutes time. So I already said the prayer, so we will start, right?
Okay.
Today we will have a brief understanding of what is called a Varna Ashrama Vyavastha. Okay. Now, it's very difficult to translate this in English because this is very unique to our Shastras, and it is there. It was there only today, at least, for at least reference purposes, it is there only in India. Outside India, you don't find any reference to this or any evidence of this Varna Ashrama Vyavastha. Even in India, this has become so diluted that it is no longer valid. And to some extent, we can say this has actually become notoriously known as the caste system. And so a negativity has been attached to this entire structure of Varna and Ashrama. But those who are Vedanta students, those who want to learn about Shastra, need to understand what was the original scheme, how it was intended in the Shastras, and how it has got completely corrupted. So that is the purpose of this today's and tomorrow's session. We have already talked about the Purusharthas, and we have also seen an overview of the Shastras in the last class, right? Very vast scriptural literature. We have seen the overview. And I said that this scriptural literature helps us to achieve the human goals, the 4 Purusharthas. And of course, the scriptures will help only those who seek the scriptures' help, isn't it? It's like this facilitation counter, or what you call the may help you counter in banks and railway stations and airports and all. There is a counter available, people are there, they know how to guide you, provided you go and ask them for guidance, isn't it? So similarly, for all your life issues and for progressing in life, how to do things, in what manner, at what point in time, if you want to know, you will have to approach the may help you counter of scriptures and learn from that. Otherwise, nobody else is going to, like I said in the last class, you may have done PhDs and MBAs and all. For real life problems, this teaching doesn't give you any guidance. If you want any guidance, it is available only in the Shastras, right? And so they provide a very valuable help for all of us to achieve the human goals, especially the 4 Purusharthas, or otherwise we saw it as Preyas and Shreyas. All the 4 goals we can achieve by following whatever the scripture advises. Okay. And for this purpose, the scriptures provide an infrastructure in the form of this Varna and Ashrama Vyavastha. And we know the importance of infrastructure. Without infrastructure, there can be no progress, there can be no development in even in a country, rather, isn't it? So if you want to progress, if you want to develop, if you want develop in your life, go towards your goals of life, then you have to have an infrastructure which will enable you to be used and then succeed in whatever you are trying to achieve. So even in our case of our country, the importance of infrastructure only now we are understanding from an economy point of view. And so a lot of investments are being made. But the scriptures understood the importance of this infrastructure not only for the individual but also for the society, and they laid down a beautiful scheme for as infrastructure for individuals to meet their goals and also the society to live harmoniously in peace and ensure everybody's happiness in the society. So this infrastructure is what we are going to see and understand, right? And mind you, when Veda is providing an infrastructure for meeting the goals, it is keeping in mind both the spiritual as well as the material goals. And that is the biggest or the most important difference between our approach to achieving the goals and what we can call the Western approach to achieving the goals. In the West or in other philosophies, the achievement of goals is only materialistic. There is no infrastructure provided for achieving the spiritual goals of an individual, right? Only here in Veda you find both these goals being very nicely balanced, and the infrastructure provides for achieving both the spiritual goal as well as the material goal. Because making in the West, they've got an infrastructure for making a lot of money, entertainment, everything. But spiritually, they are far, far, far behind as compared to what we have in our religion. And spiritual goal is as much important as the material goals. Vedas don't say that be only spiritual and don't follow any material goals. No. Vedas provide for everything, all infrastructure. And what Vedas are saying that these material goals have got a limitation. Therefore, you follow or you pursue the spiritual goals, which will give you the total contentment. It will give you the permanent happiness if you pursue the spiritual goal. You need not compromise on the material goals for that purpose. And this is what Arjuna discovered in the battlefield. Arjuna, of course, was a materialistically very, very rich and very affluent, right? But when faced with a real life choice, the spiritual bankruptcy of Arjuna came to the fore. And he couldn't face the crisis in life, where he had to take a decision, make a choice, whether he wants to fight the war or he doesn't want to fight the war. And initially, because of his low concentration of spirituality, if I can use that term, he wanted to run away from the war. And it was because of Bhagavan Krishna that he highlighted and he gave him the spiritual teaching right in the middle of the battlefield, because of which Arjuna finally could win over his enemies and also fulfill his goal of his life, which is to uphold the dharma. That was his goal. That is why he said that I am going to fight this dharma yuddha. So his goal was to uphold the dharma, but because of his lack of spiritual accomplishment, initially he faced a problem till he got the teaching from Lord Krishna. So this is how our Vedas look at it, that both the material goals and spiritual goals are equally important. Okay. And in fact, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that a truly successful person is one who has discovered his real spiritual nature. And that is what Vedanta is all about. Discovery of our real spiritual nature. Right? And this infrastructure is in form of two parts. One is a social scheme, or what you can call a social design or a social infrastructure, and that is called, and also infrastructure for personal development. So both put together, the social part and the individual part put together is what is called Varna Ashrama Vyavastha, or which is also referred to as Varnashrama Dharma in some places, right? So this consists of two schemes, Varna Vyavastha and Ashrama Vyavastha. First, we will see the Varna Vyavastha because of we have lost some time. If I am not able to finish today, I will continue tomorrow. Okay. So Varna Vyavastha is a social scheme, or you can call it a sociological scheme, a macro scheme, which is meant for the upliftment of or growth of the prosperity of the society as a whole. People should coexist in a very harmonious way. There should not be any conflicts, in the society, because conflicts are always destructive, right? So there should not be any conflicts, and everybody should be able to achieve his material goals as well as the spiritual goals in the society. So keeping all these kind of aims or objectives in mind, this entire Varna Vyavastha has been designed. Whereas in the Ashrama Vyavastha, that is a scheme for the individual growth and success, and that is how you should pursue your life at the different stages of your life is what is dealt with in the Ashrama Vyavastha, which we will see in the following talks. After we finish, we understand the Varna Vyavastha scheme. Because for any society to be prosperous, both individual and societal goals have to be taken into account, right? And we have to always, there could be some sort of a conflict of interest, so a balance has to be struck between the individual goals and the society's goals. So this is how it is dealt. And in the Varna Vyavastha, the entire society, or for that matter, you can call entire humanity, has been has been classified or divided into 4 groups, right? And each group is called a Varna. That is why it's called Varna Vyavastha. So these 4 groups, division of the 4 groups is called Varna Vibhagaha. Vibhagaha means division. So here the society is broadly divided into these 4 groups, and each group serves a particular organ of the society, a particular, you can call it a function of the society, right? So the society is seen as an organic whole, with each group performing certain roles, so that this entire society gets benefit from all individuals' contribution. And we all know, most of us know, what are these 4 groups. They are called Brahmana Varna, Kshatriya Varna, Vaishya Varna, and Shudra Varna. These are the 4 groups: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These are the 4 divisions or 4 groups into which the society is classified. Now the question is, on what basis this classification has been done? Because for doing any classification, we require a basis. For example, if there is a group of people, they can be classified as 2 groups, men, women, right? or we can classify as age-wise, above 60, from 40 to 60, and below 40. So 3 groups we can make. So some basis has got to be there for classification. And this is what we are going to see today. What is the basis for this classification? Because unless we understand this classification, we will not be able to decide which group we belong to. If it is straight away men and women, we know this classification is like this, so we know we belong to men group or women group. Therefore, are you belonging to Brahmana or Vaishya or Kshatriya or Shudra, you must know on what basis this classification has been done. And most importantly, we have to understand that these classifications was originally done only on the basis of 2 criteria. Bhagavan Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. This is what he says. So he says that I, the Lord, the God, Krishna, has actually devised this Chatur Varnyam, the 4 Varnas. Chatur means 4, right? The 4 Varnas, I have designed them, and the basis he gives, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, on the basis of the character, that is the qualities of a person, and also on the basis of the vocation or occupation of a person. So these were the only 2 bases, that is the characteristics, qualities of a person or occupation of a person. On these 2 bases only the original division was made. It was later that the third criteria of birth, classification by birth, came into the picture. And in fact, all the problems of this caste system that we are facing today is all because of this third classification. First 2 classifications have been totally given up, and today we are all following only the classification by birth. So if you are born to a son of a person who is a Brahmana or so-called Brahmana, you are a Brahmana. So this is the classification. Whether you have the qualities of a Brahmana, whether you are actually engaged in the vocation of what a Brahmana is supposed to do, that's all been totally given. Purely we are going by the Jati classification, which is not envisaged in the scriptures at all. So we must understand that today if you are referring to somebody as a Brahmana, Kshatriya and all that, this is all just man-made classification, not God-made classification. That we must understand. Okay. So when we are talking about gunas, guna means characteristics or qualities. There can be 4 categories: a guna Brahmana, a guna Kshatriya, a guna Vaishya, and a guna Shudra. So by one's own nature, by one's own character, by one's own qualities, one can be, put in one of these 4 categories. Now we will see what are the qualities that each of these, categories require. So first, what are those traits or what are those qualities make a guna Brahmana or a guna Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all those things, right? So the scriptures give these traits. The first one, a guna Brahmana, is a spiritual personality. A personality in which one gravitates towards spirituality primarily, right? Who loves spiritual pursuits, who loves withdrawal. I mean, that person actually he loves, what you can, solitude more than being in a crowd. He likes to read the scriptures, understand the scriptures. He loves to contemplate, and who wants to pursue and understand the ultimate reality. What is the real ultimate reality of this world? That he wants to understand. Also, not only this world, what is the my own ultimate reality. You see, basically, you can call a serious pursuer of the Vedanta knowledge. He is a guna, are the qualities or the traits of a guna brahmana, right? So, as I said, loneliness appeals to his mind. He is always meditating, contemplating, and he actually withdraws from most of the activities which normally people will pursue, like going to a movie or entertaining oneself, watching programs on TV, endless debates on various news channels, all those things. This personality, he doesn't want to involve at all, because he wants to devote his time in a quality way in pursuing the knowledge of the scriptures. So all these traits, like inquiry into the scriptures, all these traits are all called a guna brahmanas traits, right? Actually, sannyasa appeals to his mind. He feels that there is a value in giving up everything and being, contemplation, and then go towards the nivritti marga. In fact, this Shreyas and Preyas I talked about, that is also defined in the Shastras in another way. The Preyas is called Pravritti Marga. Pravritti Marga means a path in which one wants to keep on growing materially. Right? So that is Pravritti Marga. He wants to earn a lot of punyas. So it is a life of becoming. You keep on becoming something other than what you are now. And the other one is Nivritti Marga, which is you give up all these material state, desires, and you go towards moksha. You go towards the inquiry into the reality, ultimate reality, right? So this is another way, Pravritti Marga, Nivritti Marga. So this Guna Brahmana is more attracted towards the Nivritti Marga as compared to the Pravritti Marga. These are the qualities of a Guna Brahmana. Okay. So the second personality, Guna Kshatriya, is a very dynamic personality, right? And he loves activity. He can't sit for a moment. Contemplation and all is all too much for him. He can never sit for any contemplation or any meditation. He likes to go out and help people. He likes to take up people's causes and fight for it, right? That kind of a dynamic personality, very active personality. And he doesn't require any motivation at all. He's a self-motivated guy, right? But all his activities are not self-centered. Whatever he does, this Guna Kshatriya, he will always do keeping the interest of the society, interest of the other people in mind. So that is the Guna Kshatriya. So selfless, what you can say, work for other people. That is the Guna Kshatriya's attribute. Selflessly motivated mind, you can call it. He has got a selflessly motivated mind. This is the Guna Kshatriya. Now, the third type of personality, which is a Guna Vaishya, that personality is also similar to the Guna Kshatriya. He is also very active. He also wants to do a lot of activities, everything, go behind. He doesn't have any iota of even the Guna Brahmana qualities and all that. But one difference from Guna Kshatriya is this Guna Vaishya is a very selfish guy. He does all these things, all the activities are focused only on his own self and the growth of his own family. He doesn't bother for the society. Okay, so this is the Guna Vaishya, the third personality. But as I said, he is also very active like the Guna Kshatriya. And the fourth one is a Guna Shudra. Guna Shudra is a passive personality. is, you can call him a lethargic personality. He doesn't take any initiative in anything. But if somebody asks him to do anything, whether a Guna Brahmana or a Guna Kshatriya or a Guna Vaishya asks him to do anything, any task for them, he will immediately run around and do those things. But on his own, he will not bother for any of these things. Doing anything on his own, he doesn't work for any spirituality, spiritual success, nothing. There is no Purushartha appeal also for him. He says that what Artha Kama and all that, as long as I get my food, I am able to sleep, that's it. I will just live like that. In fact, between the Guna Shudra and, that means, see, the Shastras, what they say is, everybody is born as a Shudra only. It's only through the samskaras that one, becomes Guna Vaishya, or Guna Kshatriya, or Guna Brahmana. So this personality, Guna Shudra, more or less has not done anything to develop himself individually, and but he is a very good worker. He serves the other three classes of people, right? So that is the Guna Shudra personality. You can call it an animalistic personality, because animals also more or less very close to that. They also eat and sleep and do nothing, right? So what we have to understand also is, when we are talking about Guna, I gave you the traits. Now, on what basis this is done? In the Shastra, these gunas are divided into three types of gunas. One is Sattva Guna, second is Rajo Guna, and the third is Tamo Guna. Sattvam, Rajas, and Tamas. These are the three categories or three gunas the Shastra divides everybody into. Okay. So now the Guna Brahmana qualities which I described, all are Sattva Guna predominant. One more aspect I have to explain. Even though the Shastra classifies these people into these three gunas, it does not mean that one person has got one guna exclusively. Everybody has got all the three gunas. There is a Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna in everybody. Only difference is, one guna will be predominant in that person, and the other two gunas will be less predominant. For example, a Guna Brahmana, all these qualities and traits are there because the Sattva Guna is predominant in his personality. So, other way put, people who have got Sattva Guna predominance, they will have these traits which I described about a Guna Brahmana. Okay. So, when we come to Ashrama Vyavastha, we will see, if you want to progress in life and reach that final stage, a final goal of moksha, you must have a very predominant Sattva Guna. And even though, as I said, the Shudra, one is born as a Shudra, I will come to that. Shudra is Tamo Guna Pradhana. One can, through certain karmas, certain actions, certain prescribed methodology given in the Shastra, develop from Tamo Guna, which is the starting point for everybody as a baby, to Rajo Guna, and then develop Sattva Guna. So this is the guna-wise progress if one makes, then automatically, once that Sattva Guna becomes predominant, you will acquire automatically all the characteristics of a Guna Brahmana will set in. So this is how the scheme is worked out. This is how it happens. That's why you see some people, they are very contemplative. They like all these, scriptural studies. They've got a lot of bhakti in them. Whereas there are others within the same family I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, different kinds of people in one family. You will find one person with predominant Sattva Guna. You will find some people with predominant Rajo Guna. And there also you will find the two types, the selfless ones and the selfish ones. And then you will also find people predominant with Tamo Guna. So this all we can see practically, within one family, we can see all this, how the gunas are operating, right? So now the question is, there are 4 groups: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And the gunas are 3, which are Sattva, Rajo and Tamo guna. How do you fit these 4 into these 3? That's a question. Now Shastra does it in a very beautiful manner. Because Sattva guna predominance for guna Brahmana, there is no issue. They are more or less identical. Now, I told you the guna Kshatriya and guna Vaishya have got more or less similar qualities in terms of outgoing personality and trying to help or trying to work in the society and all that. But the difference is the Kshatriya is selfless, whereas the Vaishya is selfish. Okay. So what the Shastra does is that it says these 2 people are categorized under Rajoguna, because Rajoguna represents Kriya Shakti, which is the action-oriented personality. But Shastra says that the Kshatriyas have got a Shuddha Rajas, that is a more enhanced or enlightened Rajas, whereas the Vaishyas, because of their selfishness, their Rajoguna is called Ashuddha Raja Pradhana. So Brahmanas are, the Brahmana group is Sattva Guna Pradhana. So most important is Sattva Guna. They have a little bit of Rajoguna. Without Rajoguna, you won't be able to eat or do anything, right? Even get up and walk. And without Tamoguna, you won't be able to sleep. Because Tamoguna is mainly, gives you the sleep, the rest. So even Mahatmas have got all the 3 gunas. But as I said, 1 guna is predominant, Sattva guna is predominant in Mahatmas. So this is how the Shastra, and then of course the Shudras, they are Tamo guna pradhana, which is lethargy and sleep, always sleeping. The moment you get a chance, you will go to hit the bed. That is the Shudra character. So these are the Guna Shudras. These are the 4 classifications, how they are done on the Guna basis also, right? Now these are the Guna. So now next is Karma Vibhaga. How these are classified on the basis of the karmas, right? You can call it classification based on the profession, okay? Or worker contribution which they make to the society. So, for the sake of convenience, we divide this into 4 types of professions or 4 types of works, right? Which we have to be aligned with the gunas also, right? And each type of this work is very important to the society. That cannot be challenged at all. Unfortunately, today, these kind of classifications have completely vanished, right? Because the most important in this classification is Karma Brahmana. A Karma Brahmana is the one who is supposed to read all the scriptures, understand them and teach others. That's why you can see that in olden days, the kings and all had their chief minister who will be a very erudite scholar, a very erudite Brahmana like Chanakya. When we say Chanakya, is a Karma Brahmana, not only a Guna Brahmana but Karma Brahmana, selfless. And he was advising the king how exactly the king should perform as per the scheme given in the scriptures. So the kings used to have these people, these Karma Brahmanas as their chief advisors in olden days, right? So this Karma Brahmana or Karma Brahmana, scriptural studies is the most important part of it. And then, all type of scriptures, religious, spiritual scriptures and all that. We have seen how much is there. So you can understand how much a karma brahmana has to undergo. He has to not only study the scriptures, and in the context of not having any books or anything, he has to commit everything to his memory. And not only commit to memory, recall it also. So the intellectually very highly developed intellect, a karma brahmana has got. Now a beautiful example of this karma brahmana is Vyasa. Vyasa is not a jati brahmana, isn't it? Vyasa was not born in a brahmana family, but Vyasa was a karma brahmana. He studied the scriptures and then taught the scriptures to the world. So, and in fact, he actually extracted the essence of the entire Veda and then gave it in the form of Brahma Sutra. So, this is a classic example that what was followed and what has today become notorious, nothing to do with this classification, Varna classification at all, right? It's all man-made, politically driven issues today. We need to understand that and we need to be cautious about it. If somebody is actually claiming himself to be a Brahmana but is doing all abrahmanical things, you need not consider him to be a Brahmana at all. So then Sanskrit, studying Sanskrit was an important challenge. You know, Sanskrit is a very beautiful language, but one needs to apply one's mind very, very carefully to understand that language. So, I mean, to put it in short, extensive and intensive study of the scriptures, Sanskrit, and then not only study, it has to be imparted to the next generation so that the tradition is carried on. This was the job of or profession of a karma brahmana. So this was there. So whole life was spent in that, right? Now just imagine, if somebody has to spend the whole life in this, he can't do anything else. Because this itself is a full-time profession. Learning and teaching, full-time profession. So that classification was very, very sacredly kept in the Shastras. And today, all the problems that we are facing is, there are no, I mean, you hardly find these karma brahmanas. Even karma brahmanas, they call themselves based upon jati only. If you look at the brahmanas whom we come across, you will find that most of them are actually guna vaishyas. They are all running behind money. They only want materialistic pleasures, and they start, a brahmana, for his teaching, he is not supposed to charge anything at all. As per the Shastras, teaching has to be given free of cost. The only thing a teacher can accept is a Guru Dakshina. And that too, which is given by the Shishya on his own volition. A Guru cannot demand any fees or any charge for whatever he is imparting. This is our Shastra. Today, do you find anyone fitting into this definition? So that's why I say that all these things have gone. But for us, it is good to know that our Shastras have got all, this is the way it has been decided in the Shastras. And if somebody is going to point out that your Shastras are, all misleading and that is the reason for all this problem we are facing today, you should stand up and say, no, my dear sir, it is not the Shastras, it is you human beings, your greed and your envy and your jealousy. This is what has led to this problem, because you have actually given up the definition of Guna Brahmana and Karma Brahmana. You all become Jati Varnas, you're born in this family, so you have to be this. You are born to a Kshatriya, you have to be a Kshatriya. Whether that fellow has got all his qualities may be a Shudra qualities, right? But he will still call himself a Kshatriya. So this is what we have to understand. That's the purpose of teaching all these things also. We must actually value our scriptures, value our tradition, value our heritage. See how beautiful and how thoughtful, how scientific they have done. In fact, no management school today can beat the kind of structure which they have designed for the society as a whole, right? So that is the thing. And another important thing for this Guna Brahmana was, he has to interpret the scriptures. And interpretation, by interpretation, I mean not just tell the meaning. He has to interpret the scriptures, keeping in view the times in which he has to interpret. For example, scriptures may not contain many prescriptions. Well, I'll give you one or two examples. There can be a question. Today is some particular auspicious day in India. In whether we should, and there is a 12-hour time difference between India and the US. So this day, if we want to celebrate in the US, which day we should take? In India, it may be morning, and in the US, because they are behind us, that may be night. So suppose I have to perform the Shraddha ceremony for my parents. In India, I will perform it in the morning at maybe 11 o'clock or whatever it is, and it may be night 11 o'clock there. So the question would be, should I perform it in America at night 11 o'clock? This is, the Shastras don't deal with such questions. Right? So, yeah, this job of the Guna Brahmana is to make sure that he interprets the Shastras and advises people in a very proper manner, which is satisfactory, and also it does not violate the Shastras requirements. So this is another job that the Guna Brahmana, a Karma Brahmana has to do rather. So this is the way, the Karma Brahmanas has been defined in the Shastras. And if you look at it, a Karma Brahmana and a Guna Brahmana both go together very well. A Guna Brahmana, a Karma Brahmana cannot be a Karma Brahmana without being a Guna Brahmana. And for a Guna Brahmana, Karma Brahmanatvam automatically follows. So he will be involved in all these things. So this is the this is one classification of Karma Brahmana. There's so many such questions are there. For example, whether actually, yeah, somebody asked whether it is right to cremate a body in the electric crematorium, or we should only do that. But these kind of questions are out there. So ultimately, the Karma Brahmana has to come up with answers which are satisfactory answers for the people who are raising these questions. Right? So if he has to interpret all these things, he has to have the whole vision of the Shastra. He cannot just tell something for the sake of saying something and then get away with it. He has to have the whole vision, for which purpose he must have completed the fully, all studies of Shastra he must have done. So his whole life as such is confined to the scriptures and Vaidikam Karma. He does all those things. So he is a Karma Brahmana. Now the second type of Karma Vaishya, right, which is very much valued today, right, which is their scriptural learning and all will be secondary, but they will be in a profession or a job which is, lot of public service and becoming, the leaders in the society, serving the people. Very popular today, of course, theoretically, all the politicians are supposed to do all these things, right? So they are all the Karma Kshatriyas, Karma Kshatriyas, Karma Vaishyas, Karma Kshatriyas. So they maintain the law and order. They actually protect, being in the army, they protect the nation, the people in the nation and all that, they protect our borders. So these are all the Karma Kshatriyas job. So that is their profession. For them, the Guna Brahmanatvam is lower. There is a little of Brahmanatvam, more of Kshatriyatvam. So this is the second kind of karma classification. So they are very much necessary for the society, isn't it? Because security of everybody is what they have to take care, and if they don't do their job well, then there will be total chaos in the society, robbery, crime, and all that. It's a different matter that they themselves today are actually part of that. Anyhow, so if and the other importance is if any individual has to pursue his goals, then it is very important for the peace to be there in the society. In a conflict situation, when there is lot of chaos in the society, one cannot think of pursuing any artha kama goals and all that, isn't it? Like we are today facing, I mean, there is a big conflict in the society, very big problem we are all facing. So we are not able to pursue any of our goals in a proper manner. Still, we are trying our best. It's not as bad. Like for example, like Syria and all that war-torn countries and all that. What kind of a goal we can talk about? Even when you get out of the house, you are not sure whether you can walk 10 feet without being shot. So this is the second category, which is a karma kshatriya, right? And the third, and which is again very well known these days, is a karma vaishya. A person who is involved in business, trade, import, export, and all that kind of thing, right? And that is also required because wealth has to be created in the economy, wealth has to be created in the society. And once the wealth is created, then that wealth can be shared amongst all the people. It can be, we can meet everybody's needs and all that. So the wealth creation is the job of the karma vaishya. So this is the third classification of karma vaishya, which is commercial activities and all. He involves and creates wealth. This is the karma. Then the fourth and the final one, which is a karma shudra. As I told you, all forms of labor, unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor, you can talk, where the person doesn't think himself too much, right? He just follows the orders. Thinking is done by the other three class categories, and this fellow is the implementer. He just follows the orders, and then he gives service to the other three classes of people. This is the karma shudra, right? So the leadership is provided by the other three categories. So I can be today classified based upon either my guna or my profession, these two. So this second one, which is a karma vibhaga, is another category through which the classification can be done. And all this comes under the Varna Vyavastha. And the third division, which I told about, purely the norm of birth, which we will go into that. I will deal with that tomorrow. It's already time now. I don't want to take extra time from you. So we will deal with it tomorrow. And if need be, maybe we will extend tomorrow's class by about 10 minutes or so that we complete these two topics, that is Varna and Ashrama Vyavastha, by tomorrow. Okay, now I'll say the prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Are there any questions, please? Any questions? Nothing. Who is that?
I have a question.
Yes.
When we are talking about this Varna system, is there any new classification that comes up for the modern world?
No, there is no.
The
classification which comes up is no classification. Because we have completely gone away from these kind of classifications in the society. Today there is a total confusion. For example, a person may be let us put it, a Jati Brahmana, born in a Brahmin family, right? And he may be actually a Karma Kshatriya. He may be actually working in a police force or anything. And also, he may be a Guna Vaishya. He may be working only for himself and his family, not for the society as a Karma Kshatriya is supposed to do. So all these classifications in today's world, at least so far as we are concerned in India, because for others these are irrelevant. They don't even know such classifications can exist. But for us in India, they have all become more or less irrelevant. But the point is, we need to know such classifications are there, and that is how these Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and all these have come into vogue. The names are there, but they are, the definition of classification of the people is no longer based on what the Shastra has got. Today, only two classifications: rich and poor. That's all. Yeah. The haves and have-nots. That's only two classifications we have got, irrespective of whatever other things, other qualities you have got, or whatever your karma is. So, any other question? That's it. So, we'll close the today's session and see you all tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll end the session.